Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Bolo Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine. Everyone all together. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschachari Sutari Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Bolo Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone all together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Radha Gopi Vallabha, Radha Gopi Vallabha, Radhe Jaya. Jaya Radha Gopi Vallabha, Radha Gopi Vallabha, Radhe. Radha Hey, Krishna Hey, Radha Hey, Krishna Hey, Hey, Krishna Hey, Radha Hey, Radha Hey, Krishna Hey, Radha Hey, Krishna Hey, Radha Hey. Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ke, Shri Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ke, Shri Prem Data Nityananda Prabhu ke, Shri Prem Buddhashottam Sachinandana Gaura Hari ke, Bolo Giriraj Maharaj ke, Shri Shri Radha Gopi Vallabha Ju ke, Shri Madhura Rasaganaiti Murti Mahabha Prakash Jagannath Swami ke, Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Shrimati Subhadramai Sudarshan Ju ke, Go Premanande Hari Hari Samaveda Bhakta Binda ke. So I would like to read something from the Bhagavad Gita, if the devotees will bless us for that. If they have a bunch of Bhagavad Gitas right there, and you're welcome to pick one up, and we can recite the Mangala Charana together, if you want. It's very transcendental. They do. Goragraganya gana gotra gularuharam Goranga guratama gopyara kolpa briksham Gopala gada ratidam yati singha gora Govinda deshikavaram satatam namami Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksha Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bando Jagat Pate Pesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'm very thankful to all of you for letting me enter into your Sangha today. Private Sangha is a very special thing. But the most private Sangha is the Sangha of the heart. And the most private Sangha of the heart is the Sangha of God, when we worship the Lord in our private place in our heart. And so when we come together with some like-minded transcendentalists, it's a special thing. I often comment on this. Could you imagine if we put up a big sign, let's say, 20 feet wide by 20 feet high, outside the temple here, it said free beer. How many people do you think would come? You'd have probably a few million people, right? But if you put up a sign that says free love of God, how many people will come? No, I have something else to do. I'm not interested in that. I don't have faith in that, right? So it's a special thing when we can come together with like-minded persons. I'd like to read you something from the 6th chapter of the Gita, and I'll read something from the commentary of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, but not all. It's a long purport. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. This is chapter 6, text 10. In the 6th chapter, Krishna is speaking about different types of yoga. And he gives some very important instructions in this 10th verse, how we should practice yoga. So I'll recite the original Sanskrit shloka. Please listen. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stita ekaki yata chitatma nirasya aparigraha. Translation. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. I'd like to read you something from the purport. Please listen carefully. Krishna, God, is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna consciousness means, concisely, to be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or the localized supersoul are also partially Krishna conscious. There's some people who want to meditate on the white light. And there's other people who want to meditate on God in the heart, who provides inspiration and empowerment. And Srila Prabhupada saying here, they're also God conscious. Okay? They're also partially Krishna conscious because impersonal Brahman is a spiritual ray of Krishna, and the supersoul is the all-pervading partial expansion of Krishna. Thus, the impersonalist and the meditator are also indirectly Krishna conscious. A directly Krishna conscious person is the topmost transcendentalist, because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. He already knows what is the white light. He already knows that God is in everyone's heart. And he's moved on to something higher than that, something very, very esoteric and very, very confidential. The absolute truth in his highest personal form. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. Please forgive me for sticking my legs out. I always wanted to be like an important person. And finally, when I got to be about 45, I became a chairman, but not the kind of chairman that I wanted to be. I developed some arthritis in my knees, so please forgive me. Nevertheless, all of these are instructed herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuits so they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving instructions to so many different types of transcendentalists. You may want to merge with the white light. That's okay. There's also instructions for you here. And that's an aspect of the absolute truth. You may want to meditate on God in the heart of everyone. That's also okay. That's an aspect of the absolute truth. And here Krishna is saying, if you want to do that, then you should be serious about it. Don't just be a weekend warrior, but you should pursue that thing constantly, every day. He says, the first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him even for a moment. Concentration of the mind in the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. One should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect their realization. And in perfect determination, one should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle one by feelings of possessiveness. So this is a really very, very interesting point, very interesting subject matter. Anyone who wants to be a transcendentalist, they need to live alone. And so many people intuitively know this. In late 1981, I moved into a cave. Seriously. And Mount Lemmon in Arizona. There's a little creek nearby. I took my bath and I was picking some different herbs and things, and I had a big bag of rice and dal, and I was eating that, and I was trying to chant Hare Krishna. I'd been going to the Hare Krishna temple some. And I have to say that after some time being there, it became very, very boring. Very, very dull. And I was hankering for something a little bit more. But why was I there in my cave? Because we intuitively want a cave. Everyone wants to escape, especially when you're working jobs that are so very intense, and especially in this information age, where they're coming up with one after another thing. You have to be on Twitter. You definitely have to be on Facebook. I mean, if you're not on Facebook, you're not even a human being, right? Uh-huh. And of course, you have to have an email. That's like basic DNA. Uh-huh. You have to have email. And then you also, WhatsApp, you should definitely be on WhatsApp. And this thing and that thing. And people are being deluged by so much constant information. And then people knocking on the door and people ringing and buy this and you should vote for this person. And then we're at work and so many things are coming to us again. And we just want to get away from all that. Especially if we want to be a transcendentalist. We want to meditate on something spiritual. But how can we accomplish both? I can tell you from my personal experience, it's very difficult to go live in a cave. Maybe some people can do that. Maybe it's a nice thing to do once in a while if you want to do some writing or something. I'm a writer. But if you want to, if you're like a normal person in this world, who can go live in a cave? I can't do that. I have my car payments to make. I have to make my insurance payments. I have to go to work. I'll lose my job. I can't just go in and say, hey, boss, I'm going to go and live in a cave for a week, okay? Well, he's not going to go for that. But we all intuitively want that. It becomes too much. It's too much as a student, isn't it? It's too much. It's too much in working. It's too much just being a mother or being a father, especially in this age when we're also trying to work a job and being a mother and a father. It's too much trying to be a temple president and working a job and being a father. It's a very, very stressful, intense thing. We need to have a cave. But we can't. There's no cave that I can go to. And so sometimes people, they withdraw, their cave becomes drugs or alcohol. Or in the spirit of Brave New World, if you read that book a long time ago, it becomes some intoxication, it becomes some entertainment. It's not so bad. I know I have to drive 4 hours a day, 2 hours back and forth to get to work. But I have to work because I have to make my house payments. And to make my house payments, to have my job, I have to buy a car. And I have to pay for the payments on the car and the insurance on the car. And I have to pay for the clothes that I wear to work the job so that I can have the house that I never stay in because I'm always at work or on the road. And that's my life. But it's not so bad. I have television. I can go to the movies. Something. Life's good. And I can, in fantasy, be in some other world. And I can escape. But is that really wanted? Is that really what we want to do with our life? Live someone else's life? We can't face our own life sometimes because it's just too intense, too hectic, too much pressure. But we need a cave. We need some place that we can withdraw. And so for some people it's drugs. For some people it's some music. For some people it's a television. We have so many different caves that we withdraw to. But are they healthy caves? Are they wanted? But we can't go to a cave. That's been established. And you may say, look, you people are saying this, you Hare Krishna people, but you're on, this is Commonwealth Avenue, right? This is not just a small-time street in Boston. This is a very important part of Boston. And you people are right here. And famously, you people, at least you used to be in the airports all the time. I saw that movie once, Airport, harassing everybody all the time. And you Hare Krishna people are just all over the place. So what is this thing the Krishna's saying here in the Bhagavad Gita? Rahasi stita ekaki. He says that a transcendentalist should live alone. You people don't do that. And you know something interesting. It doesn't only stop with Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, text 10, but also Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, text 11. Krishna speaks about different qualities of knowledge. Two of those qualities, vivikta desha sevitvam. Someone who's a knowledgeable person, they should aspire to live in a solitary place. That's a symptom of knowledge, of wisdom. And aratir janasangsati. Rati means attachment. Arati means without attachment. Arati janasangsati. Without attachment to common people. It's 3 times in Bhagavad Gita. And a 4th time in the 18th chapter, text 52, when Krishna speaks about qualities that are needed for self-realization. He says, vivikti seva. That a transcendentalist should live in a secluded place. But you people are not doing that. We have to learn the art of living alone in the crowd. We have to learn the art of being in one place and being part of things, being part of the community, being a good citizen, being a good employee at work, being a good husband, being a good student, being a good wife, being a good son, being a good family member, a good friend, and doing all the things that we need to do, all of our social obligations, but at the same time, live alone. If we can learn that art, then we can survive. And this is what Krishna is teaching in Bhagavad Gita. In Sanskrit, the general word that's used for to live alone is nisanga, without association. And that word nisanga is defined by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his book Bhajan Rahasya. He says, Swarutera mangala o anye raki dura yata sanga yata phala paibi prachura. He says that associating with transcendentalists, that's living alone. That's nisanga. What's really painful is all the advertisements. I mean, we get all those free apps on your phone, and then it's constantly coming up with ads and things all the time. Buy this, and you just feel like, well, just leave me alone. What we need to be left alone from is all the materialism and all the people beating on our door to buy this and drink this and smoke this and taste this. We need to associate with people who are transcendentalists. We need to be alone in this world. But it doesn't end just there. Even as devotees in the Hare Krishna movement, we also need to learn the art of having our own space, our own consciousness. I've been living for the last, almost 30 years in Orissa, either in Jagannath Puri or near there in Bhubaneswar. And we take many, many devotees on parikramas, on pilgrimages around in Jagannath Puri. And we liken it to, we call it the Jagannath Puri University of Braj Prem. It's a university. And it's a place for those of you, who here doesn't know about Jagannath Puri? Is there anybody who's never heard of Jagannath Puri? I don't know everybody. Raise your hand if you've never heard of Jagannath Puri. Okay, good. So Jagannath Puri is a place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the place of Jagannath. And there's so many different Leela Stalis, pastime places there, and each different Leela Stali is a different classroom in that university with a different lesson that teaches us how to go to Vrindavan. We were just speaking something about entering Vrindavan in our last session an hour ago. So the first classroom in that university is the Jagannath temple itself. That's the first place Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to when he arrived in Jagannath Puri. And that place represents organized religion. Now, let's really be honest, okay? I don't know all of you. I'd like to. I don't like to have a lecture like in the university or a sermon like in the church. That's really bad. We want to have some sangha, some meeting of hearts. But I don't know everybody here, so let me ask you an honest question. The only thing I request you, just be honest. Before you came in touch with Krishna consciousness, how many of you really liked organized religion? Raise your hand. 1, 2, half. 2.5. Okay? 3.5. Okay, that's good. That's very good to be honest. Okay, next question. How many of you who are practicing Krishna consciousness joined because, damn, you just really liked the way those devotees did management and the way they organized things? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's good. It's honest. Okay, a couple people really liked the organization and management in Krishna. I was never very impressed with that, but anyway, it's important. We need that. So people, we didn't come for that reason, basically. And people, especially in America today, they don't like organized religion. But what is it then? Do they like disorganized religion? That's even worse. And we know about that sometimes, right? Huh? What people are looking for is something from the heart, something spiritual. But we want to maintain our identity. I don't want to join a cult and just be told what to think and how to behave and be controlled by someone at all times. What does it mean to be a Krishna conscious person? Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter in 1972 to a leading disciple named Karandar Prabhu. And Prabhupada described in this letter, listen carefully, the Krishna consciousness movement is meant for training people to be independently thoughtful and competent in all departments of knowledge and action, not for making bureaucracy. I'll read that again. It's good, isn't it? The Krishna conscious movement is meant for training people to be independently thoughtful and competent. This is needed. This is what it means to be a Krishna conscious person. And to teach us two different things in Jagannath Puri, we have two different places. And so many different places, different classrooms. But the first two of the first is the Jagannath Mandir, which represents organized religion. And sometimes it's a little painful, organized religion, isn't it? That's why we saw not everybody likes organized religion all the time. And even in Jagannath Puri, I only learned a few words in a real language. Same thing in Hindi. You know the only thing I know how to say practically? Bideshi Prabesh Nishad. For those Hindi speakers, huh? It means foreigners not allowed entrance. You can't come in. That's the Jagannath Mandir. They have their problems also. They have their issues. And believe me, they have their quarrels and their politics and things. It's in the newspaper all the time there. But an astounding thing is there. That God, this is going to sound very disturbing to some of you, please forgive me, but God always supports organized religion. As depressing as that sounds sometimes. And we can see that in the form of Lord Jagannath in Puri. And we can see that in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was going 3 times a day to the Jagannath temple. It's said by Lochan Das Thakur. He was supporting him, even though they weren't allowing Haridas Thakur inside the temple. He said, you're born in a Muslim family, you can't come in. Rupa and Sanatana Goswami couldn't go inside the temple. You were working for Muslims before, you can't come in. We're building a wall. They made a wall around the temple. You're not allowed entrance inside. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu still supported that. Because organized religion is important. And even though many people, that they say, well, it's just the drug of the masses, and it's not so necessary, but still, it's healthy for people. Because by having some kind of religion, people have some kind of morality. They're becoming progressive in their life. It's needed. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us the Jagannath Mandir is important, organized religion is important, but there's another place, not far from the Jagannath Mandir, where he was staying. And what is that? That place is called the Gambhira. And the Gambhira, he was staying alone or with 2 or 3 devotees, Sri Damodar Goswami, Roy Ramananda, his servant Govinda, sometimes Raghunath Das Goswami, 3 or 4 devotees. Very intimate-minded devotees. And he would speak about one thing when he was in the big organized religion place, but he would speak about something else in private. And by doing this, he taught us that just as Krishna is teaching in the Gita and Vedic literatures, what is Nisanga? Nisanga means to be in solitude. And solitude means I don't associate with materialistic persons. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking it a step further. Even within your own movement, your own spiritual movement, Jagannath Puri is like ISKCON. Everybody there is conscious of Lord Jagannath. Practically everybody there is a devotee, directly or indirectly. But he's teaching us that we should support the organized part of it, because that's important. It's very important to help people. But at the same time, we need to have a cave, a private place that we go to. We need this in our own personal lives. It's a very good lesson. We should be good husbands, good wives, good family members, good employees, good students, be faithful, reliable people. Even Caesar says you should, Jesus says you should pay unto Caesar what's his due. Pay your taxes even, as painful as that may sound. We should be good citizens also. But to keep our sanity, we need to have a cave. And that cave means we need to learn the art of living alone in the crowd and being part of things, but not part of things. One example is Jud Bharat. What am I thinking of? Lord Rishabdev in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam. It said that wherever he would go, he was surrounded by so many people. But he didn't even pay any attention to them. And although they were thinking, yeah, we're with Guru Maharaj's Sangha, I don't even know who those guys are. That's what Lord Rishabhdev would say. I don't know who they are. He was alone in the crowd. He didn't identify himself with that crowd of people around him. Rather, he identified on his own individual self. So both of these things are wanted. To be a proper Krishna conscious person, we need to be a strong individual. It's not that someone joins the Hare Krishna movement and then they get Kaivalya Mukti and now I am ISKCON. Krishna doesn't want that. Krishna likes individuals. But we don't know how to be individuals either. That's another problem we were speaking about last night, because we don't know who we are. We have so many designations and things. So just as someone peels away layers of skin on an onion, we also need to peel away our different layers of false ego and come to understand who we really are. If we talk about association, if we talk about living alone in the crowd. So such a person lives with the world but doesn't live with the world. And we might think that that's isolationism. But persons who are no longer interested in the external world, they cultivate inwardness. A better word is inwardness, not just isolation. And that inwardness leads them to understand higher truths about themselves. And they do that in communion with the Lord of inwardness. The Lord himself is the most inward person. And by ourselves becoming inward and communing with that Lord, then we find out about higher truths for ourselves. But that inwardness is communion. It's not actually isolation. It's communion with some higher force. It's communion with a higher principle. It's communion with divine love. It's communion with Sri Krishna Bhagavan. It's not self-indulgence, which is the general idea of modern individualism. People, I'm a strong individual, and so I'm going to just indulge in everything for myself, for my own sense gratification, for my own pleasure. This is inwardness. This is learning the art of living alone in the crowd. And if someone wants to be a transcendentalist, they must learn this. It's not enough just whether you're chanting Hare Krishna, whether you're doing this or that. We need to learn to live alone and not be affected by politics, not be affected by materialists, not be affected by angry, envious people, not be affected by all the noise and hustle and bustle and things that are going on in the world, but find a space within my heart where I can live and I can be satisfied. And an amazing thing is there, that if we learn this kind of inwardness, this kind of living alone in the crowd, then we become a better member of the crowd. We become a better citizen. We become a better part of the community. We become a better family member, a better employee, a better friend, because we become stronger as individuals. And then we can reach out and help other people. So this is an important aspect of the Bhagavad Gita, this science of learning to live alone in the crowd. There are many, many things that can be said about it, but I'd like to respect the timetable here and stop right now. Do we have time for comments or questions or no? Reflections? Okay, so if someone wants to have any comments or questions after the artik, we can have a little discussion about these things. I like that the best, really, because then there's a real sangam. We hear from different people. Shri Shri Radha Gopi Vallabha Ju Ke, Srila Prabhupada Ke, Go Premanandi. It speaks about this principle of nisanga, of living alone, and how important that is for our spiritual life. And what that means, it doesn't just mean that you go to a cave, but it means that we don't associate with materialistic persons. We learn to hide ourselves. There was one person who told me they were doing Vrindavan Parikrama, and they saw some sadhu, and he looked a little different. This sadhu was begging. He was sitting with the beggars, begging. And he came to find out that that sadhu was actually a mahant. He was a big guru, had lots of disciples. And he asked him, he said, man, what are you doing? Coming here, sitting with the beggars and doing this. He said, no, I do this every year for a couple of days just to keep my perspective proper. And also just to hide himself. It's an important principle. So anyway, I was curious to hear if there's anybody who has any reflections about this topic. It's a nice topic for people who are antarmukh janas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there's two types of persons, bahirmukh janas, external, and antarmukh, internal persons. And so I think pretty much everybody coming here who has any interest in philosophy, you're antarmukh janas. And I'm sure that you all practice this thing in one way or another, living alone in a crowd. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to survive. So I'm just curious if anybody has any reflections or thoughts about the talk that we had. And maybe we can take questions after that. Reflections means it's something that was said that you liked, that struck you, or something that reminded you of something else.
I did not attend major part of your lecture, but then towards the end when I came and the sentences that I heard about organized religion being actually appreciated by God was something that struck me. And the reasons that you gave were really nice, that brings in morality, like the discipline, etiquette.
Yeah, sometimes we think organized religion is just something really, really demoniac and really terrible. And it's done some really terrible things in this world. But it's not a bad thing. People need some kind of religion. It's good. And it should be organized. And it always has its problems. But at the same time, we need to have another place nearby, as we were saying in Puri, like the Gambhira, which is a quiet place for ourselves where we can be reflective. Because if you really want to be a transcendentalist, we can't just be ringing the bells all day long. And we also need to be thoughtful in private, too. Prabhuji, some thoughts?
You talk about, Prabhupada about how everyone has to become a thoughtful, independent individual within Madhavananda, because I think sometimes devotees have a tendency to become kind of legalistic.
Uh-huh.
You forget that the rules have to be based on loving exchanges and not the...
I don't know if everybody could hear that. He was appreciating this letter that I read out. Prabhupada wrote in 1972 to Kurandar. He was saying that devotees should be individualistic and thoughtful. And he was saying this, he appreciated this because sometimes he said devotees can become a little legal-minded, a little technical like that. It's very, very important that we be personalists. It's a sociological principle also. If you study conversion, when people go from being a Christian to a Muslim, or a Muslim to a Christian, or a Christian to a Hindu, or whatever, it's a big shock for them. And you lose all your friends, all the people that you were with previously, and now how are you going to get along in the crowd? People tend to make up for that by being a fanatic, because they don't know a lot of the philosophy, a lot of the culture, and their new process they're taking to, but they want to be accepted and appreciated, so they make up for that by being real fanatical. Therefore, I think that's one reason why Srila Prabhupada also wanted all the devotees to go and spend some time in India. Sometimes he said at least 1 month a year, or sometimes he said for at least a few years, and go and learn Hindi. What's the necessity of learning a language? Because in a language, there's a lot of culture there. And I can say, living in Jagannath Puri for over 25 years, that when you see people who are practicing Krishna consciousness their whole life, they're so natural. And they're simple. And it's not like the kind of people we have sometimes in the West, like myself, who are converting from something to another thing, and it's a little artificial for us. Sometimes when we become Krishna conscious in the West, we tend to think that the institution and the building is everything. And it's important. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us that. The Jagannath Mandir is an important thing. Organized religion is an important thing. But there's another aspect that we sometimes neglect, and that's our own individual personal satisfaction and personal life. And we see this also exemplified in the kirtans with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would get thousands of people to do kirtan. But in that kirtan with thousands of people, he was dancing alone. In his ecstasy, he was completely absorbed in the holy name. And he wasn't thinking, how do I look? How is this person? Oh, look, they have a strange dhoti on. He's not looking at anything external. He's just absorbed in his own ecstasy. Both things are required. Thank you. Anybody else have any other reflections, Mataji? Uh-huh. My old friend, I know. He was just at our house.
I was saying that sometimes when you feel like, oh, if I was in this place or this temple around these devotees, then I would feel inspired. But such and such Krishna has us in this place around these people. Maybe this person annoys me, but and I said, why is it that they cannot from here and there, Krishna has us in a certain place? And he said that to go internal and to trust that Krishna loves us and knows what the best place for us is, and that maybe if we were at that other temple or in that other city, maybe we wouldn't like it. And he told me, he said, don't ask. He said, just feel.
Nice.
And I guess sometimes I forget.
Yeah. That's important. We need to understand always that Krishna is thinking of us. Krishna cares for us. And for someone who begins practicing spiritual life, karmari nirdhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam, the Brahma Samhita says that person is not an ordinary person. I mean, look like an ordinary person, get sick like I get sick. They have marital problems. Other people have marital problems. They have problems with the job. Other people have problems with the job. But their life is completely different because whatever obstacles that come to them are actually blessings in disguise. And their bhajan, they're coming in the form of lessons. As one great saint once said, the environment is always friendly. So whatever situation that we find ourselves in, for a practicing sadhak, for someone who's a transcendentalist, the environment's friendly. This is meant for my edification. This is meant for my growth. It's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Prabhuji?
One of the points in the purport that I remember, but it's nice to hear it again, is that Paramahansa realization and personal realization is indirectly Krishna conscious.
Yes.
It's a nice way to preach around it too. When you explain, I was thinking of a friend of mine who said, well, to explain how yes, it's Krishna conscious, but it's indirect. It's very nice to me. It's very nice.
I like that particular point also, maybe from a similar perspective or perhaps a little slightly different, that sometimes our nature in the West here, coming to Krishna consciousness for the first time, we can be a little fanatical. And our tendency is sometimes we want to make a religion out of it. But devotees should understand very deeply Srila Prabhupada's vision, our founder Acharya, for this movement. As we were mentioning last night, in 1968, Prabhupada wrote a letter to the Governor General of Canada, and he described what his movement was, what ISKCON was. And in that letter he said, ISKCON is a non-lucrative society. It's a non-sectarian group whose members comprise of people from different religions. He said, we have people who are members of ISKCON who are coming from a Christian, from a Muslim, from a Hindu background. He said, and they can keep their respective faiths and still be a member of our society. Sometimes that's a little hard for us to get our head around. And it's a symptom actually of a cult. A cult is something where we want to control everyone. But Krishna consciousness is not meant to be a cult. Krishna consciousness is meant to give. And if people can take something from this movement, that's wonderful. If you like the idea of offering food, I remember I was going to the rainbow gatherings in the late 70s before I moved into the temple. And they had this system. They all gather together in a circle. They blow a conch shell. They call everybody to come, and they put the food in the middle. They have a circle, and they hold hands, and they chant Omkar. And later I found out that started because somebody had been coming to the Hare Krishna movement and seeing how Srila Prabhupada and the devotees were offering the food, and he got this idea, well, this is cool, that we should do something similar. It may be better ways to offer your food, very frankly, but still, it's a nice concept. And if somebody's taking something like that, that's wonderful. You come and you take something from us. Take more, take more, take more. We should just give, give, give. And a few people may want to become full-time priests and monks and stay in the temple, and that's a wonderful thing. But our society, so many people, they can stay Christian. They can stay Muslim. They can be whatever they are. In Kiev, I heard a story in Ukraine. There was, in Russia, you have the Russian Orthodox Church. And in Ukraine, you have the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They don't get along very well amongst each other, and they don't like any other religion. They just decided that Baptists and Seventh-day Adventists and a whole bunch of different groups were cult members, and they're trying to ban them in Russia, and that's basically the Russian Orthodox Church. They've not been very friendly to the Hare Krishna devotees. So there's some devotees once doing a Harinam, and there was a Ukrainian Orthodox priest standing and watching. And he was watching for a long time. Finally, one of the devotees went over to him and said, "Hey, would you like a book?" And he gave him a Bhagavad Gita. And the priest kind of hesitated for a moment. He took it. And he watched for a little while and he left. A few days later, he came to the temple. And he said, I've been reading that book. It's a really good book. I have some questions. And then he started coming to the temple regularly. And he started attending programs. Like for a long period of time, after a few years, he got initiated. He used to lead kirtans. But he was still an Ukrainian Orthodox priest. And he would wear his robes, and he would do Mass and things in the church. And he was kind of a private Hare Krishna also. Until one day, there's some pain in his body for a period of time, and he went to the doctor for a checkup, and the doctor told him, I'm really sorry, but you have stage 4 cancer. And you only have a week or two to live. So then he went to the Hare Krishna temple, and he said, can I stay here? And he was there, and the devotees were doing kirtan around him when he left his body. We were in Sweden this last year. We go most years, so they have a big festival there. And there's one devotee I met, his name's Prahlad. And a really nice young man, he's a school teacher in high school or something. And I asked him once, how did you become a devotee? And he said, my mom made me a devotee. Well, how did your mother? And his mother is an Episcopalian priest. To this day, she chants 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra every day, follows 4 regulated principles, offers her food, reads Bhagavad Gita, and she does Mass in the Episcopalian church, and that's her thing. And she doesn't want to get initiated because it would cause problems for her. And this is what our movement should be all about, that it's open for everybody. We want to give to people, and we also have some need for people to be full-time members and preachers and teachers and inside the temples. But for the massive devotees, massive people, they'll take something. Thank you very much for that, boy. Anything else is there? Ganga?
I have one concern. When you were saying about being good citizen, let's say, good father, good mother, good child, to your child, and you say, I love you, but at the same time you're detached. It sounds hypocritical in the sense that someone hears your words, I love you, they want to hear that you are like totally devoted to that person, but at the same time you encourage him to be detached. So how is that?
Well, somebody is always praising, like Vanamali Pandit Prabhu is always saying all these nice things about me, right? What do you expect if someone's like, you're kind of waiting, when is he going to come and ask to borrow some money from me? Or something. Otherwise, why would they say nice things about us, right? So if someone's saying something, if we're saying affectionate things to someone, and Banamali Pandit is very nice, I appreciate, but if someone's saying something, we're saying something, I love you, you're beautiful, but it's just from the lips, then actually that's something very offensive. And people are hurt by that. When I say that we should tell our family members, I love you, and you're beautiful, and we should care about them, it doesn't mean that we're hypocritical. And on the outside I'm saying one thing, but on the inside, I don't care if you drop dead. That's not our mood. And people will understand that. They'll feel that. And then they'll really dislike you. We have to learn to love them. But how do we love people? We should learn to love people and seeing their good qualities and seeing them in connection with Krishna. And whether they're a devotee or they're not a devotee, I can see, for example, when I meet someone, maybe I meet a businessman. I'm not a businessman. I've never been much with business. I have a hard time with businessmen. So if I meet some businessman, he's a very harsh kind of fellow. But I can look at him and I can think, he's better than me. And I can appreciate him because he's more responsible than I am. I mean, I could never have a job. That's why I joined the Hare Krishna movement, right? So he's more responsible than me. He can deal with money. There's so many things he can do that I can't do. So I should appreciate him from my heart. And if I do that, they feel that. And people really become happy. We can do that because we practice this process of amanina manadena, that we see good in everybody and we appreciate them. But it's not just from the lips. It has to be genuine. It's a very good thing to bring out. Thank you. Is that okay? Okay. Anything else? Any last thing? Prabhuji? I liked your smile. I noticed you a minute ago. Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Depends on where you're at. We were in Israel a couple of years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
My grandmother told me about the Jewish population in Cochin,
Uh-huh.
which I think is dwindling, unfortunately. But, and I guess that's what I want to say. Because there is no formal conversion. I mean, they're from Judaism, like Judaism and Hare Krishna. Is there no crossover at all? I mean, there must be.
We've had a lot of people come from Jewish backgrounds or Jewish birth who became Hare Krishna devotees. Some people say it's a conspiracy. And you can list a whole bunch of early senior devotees who came from a Jewish background. I don't know about all these conspiracy ideas, but I've noticed a lot of them, some of them, they still, like Danadar Maharaj, a friend of ours, he still goes to Israel every year. And Burijan Prabhu also goes to Israel every year, and he's friends with the people there. And he still has his Jewish nature. I have a friend, Madhava Pandit, my godbrother, who's from a Jewish family. He joined the Hare Krishna movement. His parents weren't so happy. Right? And then one day he called up the house and said, "Mom, guess what? I'm getting married to a Hare Krishna devotee." They weren't very happy. But then they found out that his wife was from a Jewish family. And it was okay. So we should, my personal feeling, strong feeling, is that we should remember where we come from and appreciate our roots. And we're all individuals. And I personally came from a Christian background, and I can appreciate that background and the Bible and Christ and that. And that's part of me. That's part of what I am. I shouldn't deny that. But at the same time, I'm a little different than a lot of the other Christians. Okay? Thank you for that. You have something?
You said that the Lord himself is very much inward.
Yes.
And this inwardness is communion with Krishna. Being alone is being actually with Krishna. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, when we say nisanga meaning living alone, we're not talking about just being alone, but we're talking about being inward. And inward means communion. In communion means association. It means we're associating with the Supreme Lord. And that Lord himself, he's also very, very inward. He's a super soul in the heart of all living entities. And as we hear about in his pastimes in Braj, although he's sarvagya, the little technical terms about God, he's sarvagya, he knows everything, because that's his job, he's God. He knows everything. At the same time, he becomes mugdha. And mugdha means bewildered. He becomes bewildered by the love of his devotees. And so, although God is the greatest personality, Srila Prabhupada once said that there's one thing greater than God, and that's the devotee. Because the Lord becomes controlled by devotion. And he becomes inward and meditates. He thinks about the devotee. Just as we're thinking about Krishna, Krishna's thinking about the devotee. And in the Adi Purana, there's a nice verse you could look up, where Krishna says that whoever chants my name, I also chant their name. Whether they chant it in a concentrated way or unconcentrated way, I'm also chanting their name. So he's inward. And because he reciprocates with the devotees, he promises, Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyam. And this is the beauty, the wonder of God. So many people in the West, we know that God is great, he's big, And he makes things. He has a bakery and rye bread and different types of bread he makes. And he has thunderbolts sometimes, and he kills people. But what does he do? What is he like? And the Vedic culture is that society, that culture which teaches about the wonderful, beautiful qualities of the Lord. And one of his most attractive qualities, according to our acharyas, is that he's inward. He's always thinking of his devotees. Okay? All right. Anything else, sister? Should we stop then? It's 7 o'clock now. What's that? Okay. So as we used to always say, now for the part of our philosophy that's the easiest to digest. Shri Krishna Mahaprasad ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki. Vancha kalpadurubhischa kripa sindhu bheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.